JID, Dave, and he dropped. I guess this would be what's third. I don't know. It's hard with DiCaprio too, right? Is that another mixtape? Is that a? I don't know. Like,
I
how do
think
you?
this is the third JID album after the Never Story and DiCaprio 2, and then DiCaprio 1 was an EP or a mixtape of some kind. Third full length, third uh, Dreamville album
Mhm.
from JID, who had a bit of a career pre-Dreamville, as people know, such as being part of Spillage Village. We had the Spillage Village album come out in 2020. But DiCaprio 2 was a while back. That was 2018.
Mhm.
So it's been a long time coming for another solo JID album. And I think his profile, his rating has rapidly risen between DiCaprio 2 and now. He's kind of like a must listen to feature when you hear JID on other people's songs. Of course, always highlights of any of the Dreamville projects. A lot of anticipation for a new JID record. And this one, I think, is cool to see him kind of close the book between his breakthrough project, The Never Story, with this titled The Forever Story. And I think he certainly lived up to the hype and anticipation. He was getting a lot of flowers online this past weekend. A lot of attention from other rappers too, which I think is always really cool to see. People just kind of shouting out their peers. Rich Brian was a big fan of Cody Blue 31, for example. Um, yeah, so I had a lot of hype for a new JID record, and I think this one definitely delivered. Definitely a lot to stew on with this one, a lot to revisit. What did you think about it?
Well, it was funny listening to this and Michi Darko back to back because I think this is a much more palatable hip hop album, and I left very satisfied. I thought this was a really wonderful listen. A few tracks that really caught my ear and stood out, and that I wanted to go back and listen to. I thought there were some great features, and I think just overall, like really I don't know, enjoyable vibes on this. Like I found myself really just enjoying this and enjoying the production and the beats and uh like a fully formed vision and execution on this in my opinion. Tell me about what you like. So it seems like you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, well, and I think sometimes with JID in the past, and on this album, there are times where I think his performance, very technical,
Mhm.
capable rapper. He can rap very fast. There are times I think when he's rapping fast, and my eyes just kind of gloss over. I'm like, this actually isn't doing what you think it's doing. It's just kind of annoying. But because the production, I think, is really intentional and interesting, there's tons of beat switch ups, there's tons of flow switch ups, so many flourishes throughout these songs that nothing ever gets stale. And he's switching up his performance so frequently that
Mhm.
even if I am starting to kind of drone out to, him rapping really hard or something, you'll immediately like snap out of it because he just is always keeping it moving, I feel like, with these songs. And that's what I think I liked kind of almost above anything else, whereas like there's just like so much change and so much forward momentum with the Forever Story with these songs. And I think it's just really fascinating to see these like really multi-layered tracks. It makes sense that this took a long time to come out because I'm sure tons of these songs took forever to finish because clearly just, new ideas, adding ideas to old ideas, stuff like that, however this was made. Um, it's just more or less always interesting.
To highlight that point about him like being technical and it maybe not working the way that you want it to, but then he kind of always finds a way to bring you back around. I think a clear example of that for me is Can't Punk Me with Earth Gang. K Tronada produced track. So it's,
Mhm.
very singular sounding compared to the rest of the album. But that first verse, he comes in and he really is just so technically like delivering each bar, and it feels almost like devoid of like passion or excitement. But then he kind of starts to break it up as he gets to the end, and he really gets into this almost like Kendrick Lamar like delivery where he's rapping incredibly fast and like changing up his cadence. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm back into this now. Then Earth King comes in, and the whole energy of the song changes completely. But
Mhm.
I think that was a really great example of the point you were trying to make, and that does kind of happen a few times on the album. But I agree. I think like the guests that he has come on, the things he's rapping about, as well as the production on this, just always kind of sucks you back in, even when sometimes it might feel a little stale or like a little samey. So
Hmm.
I think that that's right on. One of the earlier tracks that really stood out to me was "Dance Now,"
Oh yeah.
which is such a weird track, right? Like his like background vocals on that are so like pitched up in this like weird,
Yeah.
almost like Oompa Loompa like way,
I'm
right? And
telling you,
then
dude, we need the Minions to remix that song. Those sound like the Minions, like with a deep humming voice. Wouldn't that
maybe
be
it is.
hilarious?
What are their names? Kevin, like
Bob or something? I
Bob.
don't know.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
don't
seen
know.
the Minions, but people know.
Man, yeah,
Yeah, Dance Now. What a great look for Kenny Mason, by the way. I'm really happy he has
yes.
the features on this because he definitely deserves more eyeballs.
Yeah, and just the chorus on this is so fun. The delivery throughout, and like those background vocals that you talked about when they get into the I don't know why it just like fits so good. And so I really loved that song. What other songs stood out to you from this?
Yeah, well, I think the early single was a lot of fun. Surround Sound with 21 Savage and Baby Tate. Just kind of fun, Southern rap right there. People know how good 21's been lately. Um, Other features I liked: Can't Make You Change, Ari Lennox, fellow Dreamville signee there. I thought Ari Lennox was really good on that. Honestly, one of my favorite
Yeah,
features from her in a while. She has an album coming out in I think 2 weeks. Very excited about that. Yasin Bey, Most Def on Stars, I thought was really good. He's, I think, in his later years, a bit up and down at times, but I thought that was a good one. And didn't expect to say it, but I thought Lil Wayne was honestly really great on Just in Time. Usually, I don't really have much time for his stuff these days, but I thought that was really solid. Really fit the song. Lil Wayne sounded very clear. That was good. But even just JID songs, I thought just from the jump, like he wastes no time in really telling you what kind of album this is. Because on like the first proper song, Radar, the way that starts and like it immediately flips and there's like this vocal dubbing back and forth with JID's normal voice. Like it just, again, super interesting. Always changing up what it is. A bit more traditional towards the beginning. You have Crack Sandwich, where just really great beat and just a really great performance from JID. And then like, oh wow, okay, really good. And then the song kind of flips and has a completely different outro. Again,
yeah,
always keeping it going. Uh, some of his lines I think are just really funny. Obviously, when you're this kind of technical rapper, you can say all kinds of shit. I don't know if he gets super political on this. Certainly not as specific as Michi Darko was at times on his album, but still, little lines here and there, like on Money, where he's like, "Fuck Hulk Hogan" and "Fuck Joe Rogan" because it flows, or however he
yeah,
says it. Stuff like that coming in quick. Yeah,
yeah.
there's just a lot of enjoyable stuff.
There definitely is. One of my favorite lines actually came in "Can't Make You Change" with Ari Lennox. In the first verse, he's talking about you can't change a person playing games, girl. You should find a sub music child, or Little Wayne should teach me how to love. Just like a great callback
Yeah,
to a
right.
like forgotten Little Wayne song, but
Yeah,
just I
Music
don't know.
Soul Child. But
Yeah,
yes, yeah, I heard that one too. That was good.
yeah, I enjoyed that, and yeah, I just really like was thinking about Jid's like standing right, and like as you mentioned, he hasn't like put out a lot of solo stuff obviously in a while. Been doing some stuff with Spillage Village. In a sense, like when he first like really like came onto the scene, in my head, I feel like it was like him and Corday felt like
Mm,
the people coming up in that Kendrick Lamar lane that really could like hop off in that sense. But Corday's had some albums that I think people could debate, but I would say have been fairly disappointing to
yeah,
this
the last
extent.
one for sure.
And Jid not putting out a lot of stuff. I mean, he sounds a lot like Kendrick Lamar at times on this, and I
Hmm.
hate to like keep like putting him in that box because he's no one's Kendrick at all. But where do you like to see him in terms of his stature in the rap game right now?
Yeah, I kind of view him as a probably a marginally more popular Denzel Curry in terms of the
Hmm,
way people like him and think about him.
it's interesting.
Jid's kind of relationship standing with Cole, I think, really benefits him because he's kind of risen up as the most significant rapper on Dreamville after J. Cole. And I think also because most of the other, big, like think about it, like Baby Keem, really close to Kendrick. obviously related. Like I think people would take JID over Keem. Drake has never really had anyone through OVO
Hmm.
reach this level either. Um, Now, whether JID is able to get out of the Cole shadow and also get out of the Kendrick comparison shadow, I think the Kendrick comparison shadow is going to be a bit more challenging because you can still
Yeah.
hear it on this album.
Oh yeah.
But he clearly has, I think, blossomed alongside Cole to the benefit of Cole, Cole helping him, all that. So I think he's definitely his own man in that regard. But I think at the end of the day, even though he's an Atlanta guy, even though he's making Southern rap, I don't know how mainstream he actually is. I want to see how successful this album is with its first week, just because he does feel out of place when you think of like your little babies and your futures and your other Atlanta stars. Then again, he does have 21 on this, and they sound great together. So Jid's really good. Certainly deserves that more mainstream look, but he's also not making music specifically like targeting that either. I think surround sound's the closest you get to that. But other than that, like these are very dense, complicated, varied, multi-layered songs that's intentionally not going to be for everyone. So it's interesting to think about his status, but I think definitely his popularity, at least on the internet, has risen tremendously since DiCaprio 2 came out.
Yeah, I think to your point about Kendrick and that comparison, listening to this almost made me appreciate Kendrick more because of how much Kendrick is able to use his vocals to
Mhm.
make it feel like there's so many more people on the album than there are, and like
Yeah.
it's just was like, damn, like he's such a singular artist. But I I I thought the Denzel Curry comparison is interesting, right? Because I don't think of them as similar artists, but I do agree that they're probably similar in certain terms of like stature and popularity. I hope that this gets some love this album because I definitely think it's his best work to date, his singular work today, and
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of room for him to continue skyrocketing if he can find that audience. So I don't know, an artist I definitely like, want to see more success for him for sure.
Yeah. Thinking it's got to be a top 10 rap record this year so far, I have to
Hmm.
think. I like the Vince Staples album more than this, but um, I think the Kendrick album is just more accomplished. But after those two, it's a bit of more of a conversation.
Have you
So
have you found yourself going back to that Kendrick album?
no, I haven't.
Me neither.
Apart from a few songs like Father Time,
Hmm.
I haven't. But we kind of nailed that at the time. We're like,
Right.
this was an album for him. This was
True.
a piece of art, that is effective, I think, at what it's trying to convey, but it is also by no stretch damn. It is not
No.
accessible.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that it didn't sell as well and didn't stick around as well because that's just not the kind of music it is. And I'm pretty sure album 5 or album 6 from Kendrick will be a bit more inviting. So TBD
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I mean, just even reflecting on like what are the other like hip hop albums that really have like taken over the year. I mean, Megan, I guess.
Yeah, it just came out.
Megan
Um,
just came out. Do you put Beyonce's hip hop? I don't think so, right?
no, I wouldn't. I mean,
No.
there's like smaller stuff, right? You have the Earl album, you have the Denzel album.
Hmm.
Vince is number one for me. Um, but yeah, I mean, we haven't had. Oh, and Drake didn't release rap when he came out music this year. So
I remember Drake. I just not worth mentioning in this conversation, in my
right.
opinion.
And like a lot of the other big guys have sat out this year so far, and apologies to Future, but that one didn't compare for me. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean it
it's a good one.
interesting hip hop year for sure. We'll be obviously talk about that as we get close to the end of the year.